Hello, everyone. This is a very somber, not necessarily sober, a very special relationship. Welcome to The Hangover Part 2. My name's Matt Johnson from the UK. I've got a channel that looks at the funny side of UK politics. And from the US, a woman I will probably be spending the next half hour or so talking down from the ledge, the host of Phoenix News Network, Andrea Bridges-Smith. Andrea, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty great, actually. It's a really nice day outside, and I have some really fun plans for later today, so I'm excited about that.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've got to be honest, that seems far more upbeat than I was expecting, but well, that's fair enough. So you're feeling all right within yourself?
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna do some really fun things later. So check this out. This is gonna be great. So first, I am going to go outside and I am
Yeah.
going to dig a big hole in the ground. And then I am going to lay down in that hole and I'm going to look up at the sky for a little while and just kind of watch the clouds pass by. That sounds peaceful. Oh, I forgot to mention, I did this in the wrong order. So before I dig the hole, I'm going to do like a ritual sacrifice. Not sure if I'm gonna do like a goat or a couple chickens. I'll probably add like a few drops of my own blood, maybe like an eye of newt sort of situation. I don't really know if it's gonna be a little bit of a sacrifice, a little bit of a potion, kind of a blend because I'm not really sure what they're gonna be into. And so I'm going to do that. For the gods and or goddesses, girls can be gods too, of whoever is in charge of the crust of the earth, so that when I'm laying in the hole, hopefully they will accept my offering, and the earth in the hole will open up, and I will be sucked into the liquid hot magma of the Earth's core. And that, I think, if that all works out, it's going to be a banner day for me. What about you? What are you doing the rest of the day?
Uh, Not that. Um, wow. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, obviously, things are not quite kind of yeah. Well, tricky, shall we say? Tricky. Tricky
That's
is
a
tricky
good
your
word
word?
for it.
You like our
Yes, tricky.
understatement.
Yes, yes. If there was ever a time for extremely British understatements, now's it, baby.
Well, I suppose then the first question is what kind of went wrong for the Democrats and indeed Kamala Harris supporters? What do you think?
Great question. From the post that I started looking at on my bathroom floor around about 2:30 in the morning, what a lot of people seem to be saying was that this was women's fault, and that is, typical. And what's nice about that is that it completely ignores the fact that way more men voted for Trump than women did, and
Yeah.
it just lets men right off the hook, and that's exactly where we want them.
Yeah, well, get ready for that for the next 5 years.
I know it's going to be great, right?
Do you think, I mean,
Tremendous.
seriously, do you think the Democrats were maybe too confident, too cocky? Do you have too cocky over there?
We do, yes,
Okay.
and thank you for making a dick joke in this difficult time. Yes, there was definitely some confidence there. That being said, was it overconfident? When you look at the split screen of Kamala Harris running a damn near perfect campaign in only 3 months, with only a few small slip ups, versus you know, Donald Trump with the sharks and the batteries and the Hannibal Lecter and the dancing randomly for 40 minutes, insulting everybody. I think they had reason to feel confident, but it turns out that they don't know anything at all. And so that I think was really a miss on their part, was the not knowing anything.
Right, right. This is all top level stuff, by the way. I'm very impressed that we're able to get. I mean, this is better than Trump at any of his rallies, so this is quite wonderful. They should have
Well,
brought you
thank
in.
you. I can do a weave. Do you want me to do a weave? No?
I, I think we're okay. I think we're okay for the
Okay.
week,
You
unless you
let me
got
know.
something.
No, I mean, you give me two subjects, I can weave them together. But it's a skill. I've been studying him. I think I could do it if I had to.
Well, speaking of the short time frame that Kamala Harris had, I've seen that there's a lot of anger being directed at Joe Biden
Hmm.
for kind of hanging around for longer than he should have done, basically. Do
Sure.
you think that's justified? Do you think that's fair?
Yes, ideally, Joe Biden would have stepped down from office the day after that he was inaugurated and let her be president for 4 years. And then we would have had our first female president, and everybody could kind of get over that.
Yeah.
At the rate we're going, it doesn't look like one is ever going to get elected. Because we can't, we cannot do that. We cannot elect a woman to be president. I can't overstate that enough. That would be so fucking weird if we did that. So we're not going to do that. But yes, maybe if one gets like accidentally appointed or something like that, then we can have one. And then maybe after that, everyone will change their mind. But it turns out they have not yet.
It's like, wow, my penis hasn't fallen off because I've elected a woman, And just by the
It
way,
doesn't.
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if I've ever put my vote towards a woman. Not obviously, it's just funny enough. All our parties, with exception, and this would be something that Trump and Keir Starmer have in common.
Hmm.
Labour have never elected a women leader,
Oh, that's interesting.
which is mind blowing for a party that considers itself such a broad church.
Right, because the
The
Tories have had
Conservatives just
several,
elected,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Conservatives just elected their fourth one. Just
Right.
about every other party has had a female leader at some point. So I suppose
Yes.
my MP is a female, but yes. Anyway, but back to this. I did notice as well that the Kamala Harris had all the A-listers back in her, the celebrities.
Hmm.
And I don't know how much, well, I suppose not much looking at it, but how much weight these things carry. But it seemed like they were late in endorsing her as well. Same with the Obamas. It seemed like it took a while. People were like, where's the endorsement? And then it came. But do you think that was an
Yeah,
issue?
I think the celebrity endorsements helped, certainly. But I think in the end, her biggest problem was not kind of when those celebrity endorsements came in. It's that she has a uterus, and that really dragged her down in the end. It's like those things are like a lead weight if you're running for office. Am I right?
Tripping over her uterus. That's it. That's another image. There we go.
Yes.
Um,
Ugh, it's a mess.
is that really an issue over in the States, that people can't get over electing a woman?
Well, they've elected women to lots of other offices. She was elected vice president, but there's that glass ceiling that we just can't seem to break. Also, I have learned that the uterus thing, certainly a problem, but also one important thing to note about Americans is that they get apparently really upset when bacon costs more than it used to. And so that I think was also a big factor.
Right.
So we
Right.
have the uterine albatross plus bacon costs more equals welcome back Donald Trump. That's the formula.
But of course, as an American president, it's the economy, stupid. I can't remember who that was.
Yes, and apparently this time it was very much the economy. Now we will see what happens to the economy over the next 4 years because Donald Trump the other day proposed an up to 100% tariff on everything coming in through Mexico, which is our
Right.
largest supplier of like food. So that could be tricky. If you
Wow.
thought bacon cost a lot now, it's about to cost more.
Well, I mean, I don't think people understand as well. 'Cause there's plenty of people kind of on this side of the pond going, yeah, Trump did it. He smashed those woke lefty libtards, etc., etc.
Hmm.
You sit there and
Hmm.
think, even if you're thinking like that, he's president of America. He's not going to do
Right.
FA to help the UK because let's be honest, he probably won't do much to help America, but he's certainly going to do less to help the UK. It's just like, what part of this don't you understand?
Right.
All our stuff's going to go up again, because again, we're trying to get a trade deal, but there we go. So what I'd like to ask, and I appreciate this is an impossibly short answer that I'm after here. But what does this presidency mean for America, in particular, women's reproductive rights? Away you go.
Those are no longer necessary. The rights we don't need those anymore. We don't have room for them. we're doing tariffs now. We don't have time for women's rights. So those are over. Probably, it'll be slow at first, but then it'll kind of snowball. But yeah, there were some ballot initiatives for
Mm.
various states, kind of protecting the right to abortion and expanding access and kind of enshrining it in the state constitutions. But the federal constitution kind of overrules the state constitutions. And one thing we haven't talked about is that the Republicans have also picked up the Senate. Given the way things are going, they may also pick up the House. And so Donald Trump plus a House and a Senate and a Supreme Court that are all ready to do his bidding. That's not going to be great for being a lady here. So just quick check. Your ladies still have rights over there, right? And you
Yeah.
guys have houses and stuff. Just double checking.
Yeah. 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 So far, touch wood.
Okay.
But
Okay.
if they
Good to
keep
know.
pushing if they keep pushing for the wokey libtard, lefty wokey stuff, it seems to trump everything, pun, I suppose, unintended, but it seems to trump everything in its path, like
Hmm.
rational thought. It's like,
Yes.
ha ha, it's being on a plane and shooting a hole in one of the windows. It's ha ha, or the air's being sucked out now. You're going to die, but so are you. It's like, yeah, but
Yes.
you are, ha
Well, the gun metaphor there is very important because, America.
ha.
If anybody's going to bring a gun on a plane, it's going to be us. Am I right?
Right, right. Just in case anybody else brings a gun, you want to make sure you get them with a gun before they get you with. Yeah, I totally get it. Have a
Gotta
backup
have it.
gun just in case, of
Yes,
course.
exactly.
Have it loaded in everything,
Yes,
like this.
yes. Yes, it's a very chill way to live. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Anyway, while we're moving on to impossible questions, what does it mean, the Trump presidency, for democracy in the US? I mean, Trump has certainly played fast and loose with the old fascist handbook, hasn't it, really?
Yes. So it'll be really interesting to see. He's been talking about like shooting at his enemies, like Liz Cheney and people like that. So now, of course, the Supreme Court has said, anything you do during the course of being president, that's part of your presidential duties, is off limits. So you can just do whatever. So if he orders the military to start, rounding people up,
Yeah.
then that's he's got immunity from that. Can't go after him for that. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly that happens after inauguration day. I'm not certain how much longer I will be allowed to have this channel, but we'll keep going till we can't.
All right. On that, could you sort of I say go abroad, not you personally, but move the channel abroad? So you're like, I know that they're able to do on an analog. We famously had a boat that would transmit like pirate radio. That's why they called it pirate radio, because it was out in the seas, as it were. So could you do that?
That's a good idea, actually. I do love boats and radio, and so really a radio boat. It's kind of an ideal
Yeah, but
situation for me. So yeah, that could work.
good stuff. And finally, are we all getting a little carried away with the whole thing? I mean, it's worth mentioning that obviously Trump's been elected before, and he spent half his time on the golf, in fact, three-quarters of his time on the golf course, and things weren't great, but say you survived.
I think one of the reasons he's been a little cranky lately is because they haven't been letting him play golf because of all the assassination attempts. So they were like, let's press pause on that for a little while. Yeah, now I guess he can go back to playing as much golf as he wants, and that might be better. So yes, maybe the sport of golf will save our country because the voters certainly didn't.
Yes. I mean, it's a bit different to the 1990s, isn't it? In a way, the golf will actually save your country. Back then, it did a lot of damage.
Right.
Bit of a wordplay there for you out there in
Yes.
YouTube land. All right. Um, do you think after 4 years, do you think he's going to go after 4 years? Or do you think you're going to have another election? Am I being a bit too melodramatic here?
No, I think he will probably spend the next couple years trying to get that term limit thing taken away, which opens up the door for Barack Obama to make a comeback. So that could be a really interesting 2028. And it's important that we start thinking about the next presidential election
Hmm,
right now.
of
It
course.
is never too early to start thinking about the next presidential election. Anyone who is still thinking about this one, ugh, it's old news. We have got to move on. We've got to move forward. We've got to start thinking about the next one because everybody right now is all like exhausted. You're going to have to shake that off, okay? Because we got another one coming up right around the corner. So everybody go ahead and prepare yourselves. It's going to be great. Now, Matt, as much as I enjoy talking about this particular election result, how about we shift over to your side of the Atlantic and you can tell me about things that aren't a giant pit of despair, or if they are, that's okay too. Maybe it's a smaller pit. A
Okay.
shallow puddle of despair even would be an improvement. So
Little puddle.
go ahead, pop off. What do you got?
Before I do that, I don't know if you've seen this when we're talking about the elections and stuff. Um, a few people, it might just be people sounding off on Twitter, have
Hmm.
talked about stolen elections and things, which sounds like it's come out of the Trump. Have you heard anything about that? Are you able to sort of, it just seems very odd that he should win by such a margin, but these things happen, I suppose. But have you heard anything along those lines? Can you elaborate further?
I haven't heard about that, but also I sort of took a step back from the news this morning. I was like, okay, I've read that news story,
Yeah.
and I think I'm done for the day. So I've switched over to comedy podcasts and puzzle games, and that's where I've been ever since. So if there is some sort of weird election fraud thing, honestly, wouldn't surprise me. But I'm not going to go straight to that
Hmm.
because it is possible that the whole country just got really fed up with bacon being expensive. It's a thing we would do.
That sounds okay. That sounds like yeah, that makes a lot more sense when you talk about the money side of things, everything going up and stuff. They're going to blame the administration, of course they are. All
Right.
right, so I'm going to give you a bit of a break now because I'm actually going to I'm still going to talk about the U.S. Elections, but
Okay.
in relation to how this affects the UK. Is that okay?
Please do.
All right. Well, first things first, 100 or so Labour staffers that went to the US to help the campaign for Kamala Harris is really yesterday's news. I'd be surprised if they're even still talking about it. No,
Nope. We
there we go.
radio silence on that front.
I mean, the GOP raised a complaint with FEC, was it? Federal
Yes. Federal Election Commission. Yes.
Wonderful. Good memory, Matt. There we go. But that's more about negative publicity about Kamala. And now that Trump's won, I don't think it's even going to get brought up again. The Foreign Secretary is a chap called David Lammy. And
Hmm.
I think we've spoken about this. He's in the
Yes.
past has called Trump a KKK and neo-Nazi sympathizer.
Hmm.
Um,
Accurate.
yeah, but of course he's now sort of turned around and tweeted him saying, "Good job, Mr. President. Well done. Can't wait to work with you and stuff." And don't get me wrong, I get it. I get that the UK has to work with whoever. It's not
Sure.
nice, but that's politics. But it
Yeah.
just leaves such a nasty taste in the mouth that you kind of sitting there. To him to have to type that tweet is just like, uh, uh,
Yeah.
another shower. I need another shower. Yeah, you can't get all the dirt off. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very nasty
So-
taste in the mouth. I recommend gin for that.
oh yes,
Gin. Rinse that out.
yes, lovely bit of gin, absolutely. So much more likely likely to be a problem. In fact, for Starmer is Elon Musk, and
Oh,
they've had a bit of a,
yes.
yeah, bit of a tete-a-tete, shall we say, a tweet tete-a-tete, and and even to the point where a chap called he's the Met chief superintendent, whatever he is, a chap called Sir Mark Rowley, was talking about arresting people who spread malicious information online, no matter where they were. That's obviously a thinly veiled threat to Elon Musk,
Right.
which probably didn't go down so well. So if Trump makes him his, tech and social media guru, if you like, that could spell trouble for Starmer. Yeah, so that could be spreading the whole misinformation thing a whole stage further. The other point is the Ukraine war, of course. So Trump has made it clear he won't give 1 cent to Zelensky. So if he holds with that, I don't see any realistic way that Ukraine can win this war.
Right.
But I do think it will bring Europe more together. I think I mentioned before that we rely too heavily on America's military, and maybe this is the kick up the backside Europe needs to set up a strong US-free alliance. Who knows? But a lot more people are talking about Brexit than were last night, for instance.
Yes, I do recommend having a really overly large military. Right now you're funding things like healthcare and schools and blah, 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 blah. Whatever. If you just put all that money towards the military, then you'll have a really, really big military. And that is watching stuff explode is, it can be kind of fun sometimes. At least nice little crater. You can, fill that with water. You have a new swimming pool. So just some things for you guys to think about.
It's that scene from Iron Man, isn't it? I want to be Iron Man at that point in a suit and tie, just doing this with all the explosions happening behind me.
Yes, yes.
What a great idea. Yeah, I love that. All right. So everyone, take the noose off your neck, step down from the chair. I've got the first of some lighter stuff here. So here we go. It's this. Nigel Farage. Basically, for those who don't, Farage, yeah, boom. Nigel Farage is basically Voldemort with a hedge fund. Now, he's unsurprisingly, he's gone to the US again to campaign for Trump. So remember, it's bad. Yeah, yeah. It's bad if Labour does it, but perfectly okay if, the frog face does it. There we go.
Sure.
Anyway,
yeah.
For a while, Trump seemed to show little interest in Farage, almost notably not seeing him after he got shot. And Farage obviously went over to offer a kind of shoulder to cry on or whatever. Now, but this is interesting because Trump famously obviously has no loyalty even to those who have shown loyalty to him. Think of the endorsing of the hanging of Mike Pence, for example, that sort of thing. Yeah. And he has commentated a few times, even last night, I think, about how well Farage did in the UK elections. Now, either he's just, as you Americans would say, blowing smoke out of Farage's arse. And let's be honest, that doesn't seem likely. Much more likely, he doesn't understand UK elections. Or, even more likely, Farage himself has oversold his political importance, or Trump has oversold it, and Farage hasn't corrected him. Now, for those that don't know, Farage heads a party of 5 MPs. Keir Starmer, who obviously heads the Labour government, has 402 MPs. So when Trump realises this, you can expect to see Farage spending a lot more time in his constituency, where he's been notably absent from because he's been in the United States all this time.
So he's a party of 5 whole MPs. Is that big enough to even be considered a party? Is that, it's more like a gathering than a party,
Yeah, but they all stick together on that thing. It's like one of those things where I guess you stick together if you go to school and you're new, you don't want to get bullied and stuff. It's that sort of sense then. And everybody else spread out across various parts. What's hilarious is I think they got more votes than Lib Dems, but because of our weird voting system, Lib Dems ended up with 72 MPs, which is objectively hilarious. Let's not kid ourselves.
That is hilarious. My cat is outside the door, so I'm going to let her come in and get involved. So bear with me for just a moment. Hi, come in here. Come in. All right, her tail should be making an appearance on camera very shortly. She likes to be involved. So please continue.
If I understand anything about YouTube, that alone will make this show go viral.
Okay, good. That's the secret sauce. We got to get the cat on camera. Hey, get over here. We want to go viral. Where did you go? I think she went in the closet. Anyways, speaking of cats, what else is going on in the UK? was a terrible segue.
Well, I just want to hear the bond, and this get even more lighter stuff. But various
Okay.
UK networks were covering the elections last night. But I have to say, hats off to probably the bestest of the coverage, which was produced by Channel 4, who had on their panel Stormy Daniels and Boris Johnson sat next to each other. It is as delightful as you would expect it to be. And now it was fairly clear that Stormy didn't know who Johnson was. And Johnson said he didn't know who she was. You're like, really? Come on.
Oh,
Even
he
if you haven't
knows.
seen any of her films, you must be aware, certainly if you're a prime minister when the whole thing came out, of who she is.
Now
Anyway,
this is something that I've been seeing lately over here too. And this is politicians when asked about something and they say, "Oh, I haven't heard anything about that." And it's like the biggest news story that is like everywhere on every single newspaper. And then it's like, "Oh no, I haven't heard about that one, so I can't comment." And it's like, I don't know that I want elected officials that have no connection to the biggest things happening in the world right now. That's
yeah,
bad.
yeah.
That's bad. I expect you to know a lot of things about the world around you. That's kind of your whole deal, right?
You want them to keep pace with things, don't you? Especially when you
Yes.
consider that Johnson himself is, well, no longer elected, so he's not answerable to anybody.
Right.
Although that's not entirely true. He's answerable to his publishers, who gave him a £2 million advance on his book, have since been trying to claw it back because it only sold something like 50,000 copies in the first year, even though they made 200,000. The first month, sorry, they made 200,000. And he was on the show last night trying to sell it, left, right, and center, every chance. And to the point that
Beautiful.
presenters were turning around going, just shut up about your book. Nobody wants to buy your book. In the end, they kicked him off the show. It was just an undignified, hello, puss, puss, just an
Yes. Here's the key.
undignified for him. And it just fitted Johnson to an absolute T.
So I have a question here.
Yeah.
And first of all, for those of the audience who are listening and not watching, he said that because my cat got on camera. So that's what that was about. My question for you is, Liz Truss also recently had a book come out that famously did not fare very well. So I'm curious, which sold more, Liz's book or Boris's book? Who's winning the book race there? Do we know?
There are no winners, only losers. But I would say,
The
in
fact
all
that either
honesty,
both exists is a loss for all of us.
well, in fact, the reviews of Johnson's have been sort of terrible. They've been called, liars, that sort of thing. But I
Yeah.
remember that they were notably less vicious than the ones on Liz Truss's, which is
Hmm.
just, a next level of delusion, that sort of thing. Um, and somebody said it was like somebody had written something on the back of a crisp packet, or it was. So I think Liz Truss is probably losing the book deal.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Good to know.
when it came to sort of showing it off, though, it's Liz Truss is definitely losing. Well, she might be. You might say it's winning in an ironic way. Obviously, you've
Sure.
seen that clip of her appearing on Fox News, and the chap saying, "Congratulations on your new book." And she goes, "Oh, thank you," and she holds it up the wrong way, and then she pulls it down, pulls it up the other wrong way, and then she's like, "Oh, there we go." It's just like, how did you run our country? How is that possible?
Yeah, that shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't have happened.
But get ready, because we've now got a new Conservative leader.
Okay.
That was as of last weekend, a lady called Kemi Badenoch.
Yes, I heard about this. Yes. You
Yeah.
were saying that she was the favorite to win, so she did end up winning.
Yes, due to the fact that, no nice way of putting it. I mean, there's about half a dozen things behind me that could have beaten Robert Jenrick in a two-horse race. Um, a staggeringly unimpressive, simple-minded individual. Don't get me wrong, she has her fair share of gaffes. She's had her first PMQs today, and she had a load of them. But what makes it funny is the fact that obviously the Tories got obliterated at the last election, nearly
Sure.
wiped out, 121 MPs. So she's had to, the first thing she's had to do is draft up I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I'm laughing at the group that they've got, but they had to draw up a shadow cabinet, which obviously opposes the actual cabinet of various people
Hmm.
like Defence Secretary, Health Secretary, things like that. And it's just, just an awful bunch of people. They're just virtually all so bad at their job. And what's quite funny is even the ones like James Cleverly, not the sharpest tool in the box by any means. Once he lost he's running to be a leader as well. Once he lost that, he was like, I'm not going to take any further part. I don't want to be part of anybody's cabinet. You know what I mean? Even he's like seen the writing on the wall. I'm going to take a step back.
Right.
Jeremy Hunt is taking a step back as well. It's just these people get an extra 60 grand a year for this, right? They're like, all the money in the world is not enough. So Robert Jenrick,
that is how you know when things are bad. When people are like, more money, more responsibility, more prestige. No thanks, I'm good. I think I'm gonna just be over here. Y'all have fun with that. That's gonna be a good time. I cannot wait to see what the final cabinet is gonna look like over there. The shadow cabinet. It's gonna be great.
Been assembled. They're all sat there with her, but it is kind of like you're all sat in just clunking your seatbelts on an airplane, and the pilot goes, "Oh, not thank you, not with this one. Good luck, everyone. Good luck." Oh, get my hat. Yeah. So it's Robert Jenrick is now the Justice Secretary, which is just so bizarre because so much about this has been so bizarre. But it's nice to see that although, as I say, the Labour Party haven't exactly covered themselves in glory on a few occasions, that level of incompetence is solely for the Conservatives,
Yes, it seemed like with the Labour Party, at least, people did want to be a part of the cabinet, no?
Yes.
Well, they're doing something right, and they've lasted longer than most produce. So, here's hoping things will smooth out. But yes, it'll be very interesting to see what the Tories come up with. It seems like after this last routing in the election that they would maybe change their ways and, have a sort of, a realignment, a rethinking of things. But looking like, no, we're not doing that.
It is quite extraordinary. Everybody, I suppose, that's been fired basically from various parts have kind of like, come back in, the water's lovely, By the way, and this is my bold prediction, although not that bold, because I think a few people are making it, even the man himself. I can see Johnson coming back within the next Parliament.
Oh, God.
There's going to come a by-election, and he's going to make it, because he didn't deny it. Now, that could be he's trying to sell the book.
Yeah.
But, he was being very diplomatic, very unlike Johnson, being very diplomatic about the whole kind of US presidential elections, so.
Well, Matt, if we can look at the silver lining before we wrap up for today, because I have a hole to dig. I think for you and me, with Trump coming back into office, Boris Johnson possibly making a reappearance, my cat screaming her face off over there in the corner, which you can probably hear, which I think is adding a lot of much needed color to this episode, and is very appropriate for this time in our lives. The great thing about all of this is that you and I are going to have so much material to work with.
Yeah.
Silver lining?
Yeah, there is that.
Okay, great. Listen, I'm going to go grab a shovel. It was really nice to talk to you today. I think I needed that. So thank you to everybody out there listening. Good luck. Hang in there. Good luck,
everyone.
I'm not going to tell you it's all going to be fine, but, you're still here. I'm here with you. So's Matt. So we got that going for us. And the cat's here. So
I have space on my floor. You see, I've got a sofa behind me. It's actually comfier than it looks. So don't worry, America. You'll be fine.
There'll be a knock on your door before you even know it, and there I'll be with suitcase in tow.
It's like, this is weird because I didn't even give out my address. Yeah.
You don't need to. I'll find it.